Hi everybody, Nick McDonald here. Welcome to this week's ICE commentary on the equity markets, and we're looking here at the Russell 2000. Starting with the daily chart. So last week we were up here and kind of looking at it thinking, will we push up to new highs or will we pull back a little bit further? As it happens, we have pulled back a little bit further. We've pulled back into 800, which I'd identified last week as a good place for a bounce if we did pull back there. Just maximizing this daily chart and looking why it's a good place for a bounce. It's a significant support and resistance level coming all the way back here, pretty much right through 2011, i.e. from the start of 2011 right through till around about August. It found significant support and resistance there, as well as doing so just a little bit again on the way up in 2012, and now we're pulling back into it. So this is a good, sensible place for price to have a bounce. Let's just have a little look at the weekly chart as well. And look at this, well, price has rallied up. It's got significantly away from its averages on the way up after a good few months higher. And now we're just pulling back in. And notice how this weekly chart is just about back touching the 10-period moving average. That's just a good, sensible sell-off and a good place to look for buying opportunities. Coming back and looking at it on the monthly, well, this remains bullish. Sure, the candle's turned red, but it's intra-month, and there's going to be times on a monthly candle where it's green and where it's red. At the moment, it does look slightly bearish, but it's not the end of the month, and actually still particularly bullish, having made this higher low, still looking like pushing up through 850 to higher highs in the longer term based on the monthly chart. Now, there's a few reasons I think this will go up. One, the daily, weekly, and monthly are all looking bullish. They're all looking in the right kind of place. Weekly and monthly, good, strong uptrends. Daily has switched temporarily to downtrend here, having made a lower high and lower low, but we're pulling back into that support level where we expect a bounce to come in. So that all looks particularly strong. But there's another reason here. Even though we've had a little bit of a sell-off there the last kind of couple of weeks, it's minor in the overall scale of things. We still have a little bit of a sell-off. Now, I'd like to look at the other index markets, of course, and look at what these are doing and help decide what the Russell might do. And it's actually what these are all doing, which actually adds weight to the probability of this going up. Come and have a look at the Dow first. Just hardly sold off at all. Still in the buy zone. Actually, a nice bullish candle. If it could break up through these highs and up through 13,000, then the Dow is looking very, very strong indeed. Come and have a look at the S&P, and we see a very similar situation where prices hardly even sold off. In fact, it's just kept on pushing up the last few weeks, while the Russell's been significantly sideways and slightly down. This is still looking bullish, looking strong. It looks like it should, it's really holding above 1350 now, and coming in and looking up here, what is in the way? Very little once it gets through there. We've got 1400 coming up, and 1400 will be our next area of significance. But the most important thing for now is to be holding above these levels around 1350, and it's doing that and doing it well. Coming and looking at the Nasdaq as well, which of all of them would normally be the one we'd expect to be the most correlated to the Russell, and actually this has just been pushing up the last few weeks also. So all of these markets are looking particularly strong, except for the Russell. Now, there'll be reasons for that, of course, and if you want to go and look in at all the reasonings behind the stocks, etc., then you can. However, for me, it doesn't really worry me what the reasons are. I can tell in a chart there are certain reasons why the Russell has not been as strong as the others. However, these markets are all closely correlated. They're all based on stocks, and this is likely based on technicals as well as based on being the lagger of the group. It is just adding probability to the fact that this is likely to continue on up. So, looking at this, what is likely to happen? Well, there's two different scenarios. One is that all stocks continue on up, and that's a perfect place for this to happen from this 800 point on the Russell. The other one, though, is that the other three markets, the Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq, do actually have a bit of a sell-off, which actually could increase the pressure on the Russell. I think that the markets are looking more likely to go up. However, if markets did sell off, what would be the worst case here? So I think my highest probability trade for this week, I'll be looking for long trades around 800. But if the other markets sell off a little bit and it puts a little bit more pressure on the Russell to the downside, where's this likely to get to? Let's look at a few worst case scenarios on the weekly chart. So I think being in here at 800 now looks like the most high probability level. But then if we just come back a little bit, around about 760, we had all of the support resistance in the past, and I think 760 to 750, because 750 being just below it, that's kind of a zone. Let me mark both lines in and you'll see what I mean. There's a number of touches at both 750 and 765. So it's in that kind of zone. I think price would find significant support. That would also be right back at the lower extremities of that weekly buy zone. I can not really imagine price pulling back much further than that without some kind of major fundamental shift, i.e. some major piece of news to really turn these markets on their head and start going down. Otherwise, I think, like I say, highest probability, turn around at 800. Worst case, a pullback into kind of 760 to 750. Much beyond that, I think there'd have to have been a catalyst for. And at the moment, without being able to predict, any piece of news such as that, I think that these markets are looking poised to go higher, and I'll certainly be looking for reasons to get long as soon as right now, as soon as this week. Looking, when I say that, I'm not just buying just because we're 800. I'm looking for reasons to buy. Are we doing things like coming down to these lower time frames, a 4-hour chart and an 8-hour chart, and just while we're here at 800, waiting for the candles to turn around, waiting for the candles to give me a reason to buy and show me that price is back on the way up and give me a good entry point and a good stop loss. Hope that helps everybody. Happy trading. Have a wonderful week, and we'll speak next week.